Hello, welcome to Anita the Pedagogue channel. Today, I want us to look at objects in English grammar. Our objectives for today's lessons are to be able to identify direct objects, compound objects, and indirect objects. What is the direct object of a sentence? A direct object is a person or thing that receives the action of the verb. It is the person or thing that is acted upon by the verb. That is, who or what the action is performed on. Not all sentences have direct objects though. Now to find the direct object, first find the verb and ask what or whom. Let's take our first example. Michael threw the ball into the net. First find the verb in this sentence, and that is threw. Now ask, threw what? The answer is the ball, threw the ball. It is the ball that receives the action threw. The ball is therefore the direct object. Now try this example. The headmaster greeted the parents. Find the verb in this sentence. Greeted. Now ask what? Greeted what? The parents. The direct object in this sentence is the parents because it is the parents that are receiving the action greeted. Now let's take a look at compound objects. In grammar, compound means more than two or more. Compound direct objects are two or more direct objects receiving the action of the same action verb. Now note, just as there can be two subjects in a sentence or clause, making up a compound subject, similarly, there may also be two or more objects in a sentence or clause. When this happens, we have a compound direct object. Let's take a look at some examples of compound objects. Example 1. Last vacation, I visited the Kakum National Park and the Molly National Park. Let's find the verb here, that is visited. Now let's ask, visited what? The Kakum National Park, that is one object, and the Molly National Park, the second one. The Kakum National Park and the Molly National Park is the compound object in this sentence because we have the Kakum National Park as one object and the Molly National Park as another object coming together, making two objects in this sentence. We therefore refer to them as compound objects. Let's take a look at another example. I love pineapples and bananas. Now let's find the verb here, that is love. Let's ask, love what? Pineapples, 1, and bananas, 2. Pineapples and bananas is the compound direct object here. And this is because pineapples and bananas are two objects, making it compound. So we refer to this as a compound object. Let's look at some exceptions. Now note, every sentence has to have a subject, and not every sentence has a direct object. Let's look at some of these. She walked. Ashira looked upset. The bells rang out over the valley. These sentences do not have indirect objects. On that note, let's take a look at indirect objects. An indirect object is a noun or pronoun to whom or what or for whom or what an action is completed. The indirect object receives the direct object of the sentence. An indirect object answers the question of to whom, or for what. Now to find an indirect object, ask to whom or what, or for whom or what the direct object is intended. Let's take notes that an indirect object will appear before a direct object. Also, the indirect object of a sentence can be recognized also as it may have a preposition in front of it. Let's take an example. Lillian made him lunch. Let's find the direct object by asking who or what. Then to find the indirect objects, we ask to whom or what, or for whom or what. Lillian made what? Lunch. Lunch is the direct object because it is receiving the action made. Now to find the indirect object, ask to whom or for whom. To whom did Lillian make lunch? Him. Him is the indirect object here because it is to him that the lunch was made. Let's take a look at another example. Nana paid him the money. Let's find the direct object. Nana paid what? Money. Money is the direct object here. Now let's find the indirect object. To whom? What or for what? To whom did Nana pay the money? Him. Him is the indirect object here. We look at another example. I did give it to her. Let's find the direct object. I did give what? It. It is the direct object here. Now let's find the indirect object in the sentence. Let's ask, to whom did I give it? Her. Her is the indirect object in this sentence. This brings us to the end of our lesson on objects today. I hope this lesson was useful to you. Please put in your comments and questions and I'll respond to them. Do like, share and subscribe to this channel. Until I come your way again, keep learning and be the best version of yourself.